Hello, and welcome once again to my office at Stanford, where I'm still a PhD student studying AI and robotics. In case you don't know, my last video was also set here and was all about my years in grad school. And in it, I basically laid out all the failures I've had to endure as a sort of attempt to remind others in the field and anyone really going through any struggle that this is part of a process. So once again, we're going to have a chronology going from the beginning of my time at grad school to the end, but now we're actually going to discuss the lessons taken away from the failures and not just the failures themselves. And we will start once again in 2017 when I was just beginning in grad school and somehow lucked out by getting into the very lab I'm in right now right away and getting a nice project to be on. But as I mentioned in a previous video, although the project was great and the idea was fun, because it was trying something new, we didn't know it would work, and we had to implement this new idea and test it out. And when I implemented it, at first it just didn't work. And so that leads me to a first major lesson that I carry with me after a few years, which is to use sanity check testing. So what does that mean? Basically, sanity check testing is saying, instead of trying to do a complicated thing and testing that, seeing if your whole idea works right away, start by testing things that if you are sane, if your assumptions are correct, if your understanding is correct, will work. You know will work, for sure. So here's a concrete example where on this first project, I implemented the idea and we tried to do the whole thing. So to keep it simple, the idea was given an image, you want to get the 3D shape of the object in an image. And so we tried to do that right away with images of chairs or cars, and it wouldn't work. And it was only after I took a step back and realized, maybe I'll just make a fake problem with just shapes of cubes or spheres or ovals and try to make the code work for that I was able to start making progress, because right away it didn't work. I found some bugs and that helped me make progress. And in multiple projects since then, I found you really need to begin with sanity check testing, begin with simple tests that you expect to work if everything is as you think it is, and only then move on to the more difficult things. Let's move on to the second lesson, which is kind of related. The basic idea is to persevere for a while, but also be open to pivoting. So again, this comes directly from the next project where I had some serious struggles and failure. So this project, I was kind of taking on something a little bit new, and I didn't manage to make it work by the deadline we had as a team. And I kept working on it for a few months afterward and sort of slowly made some progress, but in the end, it wasn't enough. We had to talk about priorities and it got cut. And that's where this lesson comes in, where I think the problem was that I was trying to do the same approach for too long. I was optimizing my code to run faster. I was trying to parallelize it. I was doing the same basic thing, whereas what you should really be doing is, if something doesn't work, you should be, yes, trying to get it to work. There is always some period of debugging, of struggling with something to push it along. But at the same time, you need to be mindful of reconsidering your approach. You need to see, well, if this doesn't work, maybe my basic approach is wrong and I need to change it up. And that's something I did too late on this project, and in the end, I should have really done it sooner. But there's also a positive side where the next major success I had next year, where we put in sort of months of work to try out a new idea, was actually a result of looking at this sort of failure where we tried to apply a known technique and it didn't work, And we took the inspiration from it that, okay, well, this is kind of a general problem, and we can actually have a new research project on how to alleviate it in a general way. Basically, if you're slogging along for months, then always keep an eye out on how you can change your basic approach, how you can pivot. And if you have a failure, if you have something that doesn't work, maybe that's an opportunity for your next project. Maybe that's a point of inspiration and a pain point to tackle, right? Now, third lesson. And again, not anything too surprising, but something I've had to learn personally, and something that has led to some mistakes and things not going the right way for me. And that lesson is to primarily focus on one or two big projects at a time. So, as you can tell by this video, I am the kind of person who likes to do little side projects. I like to do little creative endeavors. And I think as a PhD student, as someone in grad school, it's often easy to get excited about many ideas and, try to have many projects going and really pursue a lot of directions. And I've had to learn the hard way that although that can be tempting, you should really do your best to not give in to that temptation too often. There's this nice phrase I've been thinking about, which is that ideas are cheap, execution is everything, right? And of course that's a bit too simple. You need good ideas. So maybe a better take on it is that ideas are nothing without execution. Okay, you can have the best idea ever, but you need to actually put in the time and the work and the sweat to realize it and see whether it's good or not. So that's a big one for me personally, where I'm trying to focus on really one major research thing at a time, at least while I'm a PhD student, and not split my attention, even if I could. So the next lesson is to find a good team and to be a good team player. And again, kind of a no-brainer, it's nice to work in a good team, but I think in grad school and often in life, there is this potential to be a lone wolf and to try to do things yourself. It's easy to sort of try to do that, to fall into your basic instincts of, oh, I'll just do all the work myself. But in my experience, for every single real strong success I've had, it was really made possible by really fantastic collaborators. It's not always easy. I think sometimes you have to recruit master students, you have to go talk to people and see if they would like to work together. You have to, in some cases, suggest getting on projects or collaborating. You need to be proactive and try to make it be there. So that's lesson 4, and now for the last one, which is actually like the most obvious one that you already know yourself, but it's one that again I suggest for experience, and it is to maintain your health, both your mental and physical health. So to give a concrete reason why I really highlight this, I think in grad school or whenever you're doing any difficult work, it's easy to sort of start giving concessions and slipping a little bit and incrementally losing focus on your health. And so in 2019, I actually have this fun graph where you can see for every single paper deadline, my weight hits a peak. And then after the deadline, I'm like, okay, well, now time go back to good sleep and diet and exercise, and I lose some weight. And then there's the next deadline, and it goes up again, and then it happens 3 or 4 times. And of course, not to be fat phobic, the problem isn't weight or being a little fat. The problem was that my health in general was worse, as indicated by the weight. So my body fat percentage was worse, my stress levels were worse, and this was really a trend throughout last year. So this year, I made it a priority to go back to exercising consistently, to a healthier diet, to meditating more, and it's been profound how much better I felt in terms of energy levels, in terms of overall mood, in terms of just feeling good, you know? Of course, it's not easy when you're juggling things to make time for the gym, to find the energy, but it is something that you have to prioritize. And as many people say, obviously, if you maintain your health, if you have a good sleep schedule, if you exercise, if you eat well, you will have more energy, you will be more creative, you will actually do better work. And I will also add, I think it's not just about physical health, of course, it's about mental health. Grad school especially is challenging. So I personally have started kind of cultivating relaxing hobbies. I have this thing where on weekends I like to go on my deck in my apartment and light candles and read for a couple hours. I still make a point to watch movies or hang out with friends. Like, you really have to not just think of these as fun things, but as things you have a duty, a responsibility to find time for, to maintain your health, for the benefit of yourself, for the benefit of your work, just because this is life, right? You need to keep healthy. So that's it. Those are the major lessons I would say I took away from all my time at grad school and some of these individual failures and successes. Thank you for watching, I guess. Hopefully it helps some people. And if you have any other thoughts or lessons that you think really helped you, feel free to just comment below. Maybe others will see and I'll help them too. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.